Hello everyone and welcome to our Learning Arkham series where we are going to be exploring Arkham Horror, the card game, from top to bottom. This is the first video in the series and it's basically what is the game and what should you expect when you play it.
That's right.
Now before we get started, Robert and I play this game a lot.
Exclusive.
And it is absolutely one of our favorites, so if there's a little bit of favoritism going on, that's why we genuinely
Take
love
it all into context.
this game. Let's kick it off with what Arkham Horror, the card game, is.
A card game.
In the kind of grand scheme of games, it is what we would call a cooperative living card game.
CLCG?
Okay? So, yeah, we could call it that.
Too bad.
Although the other one's competitive, so it doesn't quite work.
We'll use a K for that one.
Let's do cooperative. What does that mean?
That means that all the players are working as a team to accomplish a mutual goal.
And then generally the enemy is the decks, it's themselves. The encounter deck the middle, it's going to try to throw random challenges at us. Okay, so that's good. So we're working together, which is one reason it's so fun. A living card game is really only relevant in that it is contrasted with what would be called a collectible card game. So in a collectible game, there's a lot of rarity and randomness, and you open packs and you don't know what you're going to get. In a living card game, it's non-collectible, which just means that you buy a product, and just like a standard board game, the contents are guaranteed to be the same, no matter how many different versions of that product you buy. So if I buy a Mythos pack that has a certain title on it, the same contents are going to be in that pack as they would be for Robert buying it in San Diego, for Ben buying it out in Australia. So the singular, most defining thing about a living card game is that it is non-collectible and it expands over time.
Cool.
So you get a bunch of different products that release over the course of many years, and it kind of forms this big catalog of things. Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, so it's a cooperative living card game. That's good. That means it's generally easier to collect and less expensive.
That's right.
And then you can play it with your friends. Now, what are we going to be doing in Arkham Horror, the card game? Let me tell you.
Okay.
It all comes down to we will be controlling investigators.
People like her.
And investigators come in a large variety of what I would call personas, right?
That's right.
So you have your, your like weird, like voodoo caster types.
Spelly lady here. Caster, jack of all trades.
You've got kind of a more bookworm, kind of tough guys. You've got, like the classic detective tropes with the hats and the trench coats and that kind of thing. You've got I guess Daisy's still a bookworm.
Barkeep / witches.
You've got old sailors who might be exploring the mysteries of the depths.
That's right.
You've got basically anything that you might want to play. You got like the explorer, like the Tomb Raider style.
Right. Jazz musicians.
The whole thing. You've got it all. So whatever it is that you ultimately enjoy playing in a game, whether it's a video game or a tabletop game, or even reading about in a book, you can embody that kind of persona. At this point in the game, when you're watching this, there's a ton of investigators out. So you can choose the one that appeals to you, bring it into a scenario, and then use that as your investigator.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And then secondarily, you're going to be collecting cards and then putting them into a deck that you randomly draw from during the game.
A deck?
To give you your skills.
All right.
So here's my Arkham
skills and
deck.
assets.
This is literally my Arkham deck. So in this thing, I'm going to put all sorts of things that might help me during a game. So it's going to be flashlights. It's going to be spells. It's going to be dynamite.
Resources to pay for things.
Grappling hooks.
Yeah.
Like connections with the cops.
Magnifying glasses.
Magnifying glasses.
Encyclopedias.
That's right, you're a Daisy player.
That's right.
What else? Like the pitchfork thing.
Shotguns.
Swords, shotguns.
Lightning guns.
The whole thing, right? There's Tommy guns.
Tommy guns.
Pretty much everything. So knives, hatchets, anything that's going to help you solve a mystery, ultimately, you include in your deck. And you make those choices.
That's right.
So let's say I have a wall of 200 things that might help me. I choose about 30 of them, put them in a deck, and then I play with that throughout the game. And I can change that as I go along, level up, get more experience, make my investigator better, my deck better as we move forward.
Cool.
So how this all plays out is we take our investigator and the deck that we've made, and then we have a large number of what's called scenarios available to us through various products in the Arkham line. We have a buyer's guide that you can watch after this, and it will essentially lay out a certain set of challenges that are thematic.
That's right.
And then you and your friends playing their investigators will explore those challenges and try to make it out alive before you lose.
Or just successfully.
Or successfully.
Not everyone needs to survive.
Maybe not everybody makes it. And so you can think of it as a long-running like campaign, right? So you might start playing this scenario and then the next scenario and the next scenario. And as you continue to do that, if I took, for instance, a really terrifying like nightmare during one of the scenarios, that might reflect in the next scenario where I now have less sanity.
Correct.
Or I might have a card in my deck now that affects me in a
You're less healthy
way.
or something. Yeah.
So it's just it's this nice evolving experience.
Yeah, an adventure narrative of sorts.
And it throws back to Lovecraft.
And your choices will shape that not only for your investigators, but also for the story itself. You might, take that secret ancient locket to help defeat that magical foe later, but there will be price to be paid, I assure you, something like that. Yeah, or you could just leave it where it is, and you might have a hard time with that boss man later, but you won't have that nasty curse hanging over your head.
It's like King's Quest.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a mix of choose your own adventure.
That's right.
And then what I would consider like pulp style weird tales, like the older kind of episodic magazines that you could get on the stand. It's got a ton of Lovecraft, obviously, because it's set in the Cthulhu Arkham mythos, chambers, like these kinds of
weird
writers.
Stories. Yeah.
And so it's a lot of adventure with a lot of weirdness and things that need investigating thrown in, a lot of mystery. So if that all sounds interesting to you, then you should continue to watch this Learning Arkham series where we're going to show you how to play the game, and then we'll also show you what you need to know to successfully and effectively buy the game.
Awesome.
Anything that we missed, Robert? Anything at all?
That about sums it up.
Okay, what's your favorite thing about Arkham?
My favorite thing are definitely the investigators in like the Lord of the Rings living card game, another cooperative type. You have a band of people that create your team as an individual player, and you still have your collection of players playing for their mutual goal. But in this one, you have this one investigator that everything hinges around, and you can really explore the kind of min-maxing, if you will, not quite that severe, but the min-maxing potential that something like a spellcaster would do in any of their adventures, or this news reporter / unlucky bookworm type of guy. So there's a whole bunch of flavor that is just inherently baked in. It's always exceptionally well crafted and creative. So it's just nothing short of a good time every time.
And my favorite thing, so I played a lot of games. One of my favorite is Netrunner over the many years. And the action system, literally the way that the game unfolds mechanically, I think is incredibly good. You get your 3 actions a turn. You can do any number of things with those actions. It's a very freeing feeling. So you feel like you can do anything that you want in the game whenever you want to do it.
Totally.
Just to a point where you can't quite do as much as you wish you could.
Yeah.
And so there's a great tension there and a lot of good decisions to be made that aren't obvious. So thank you guys so very much for watching. We hope that you will continue along with us and learn Arkham, because this game is absolutely worth playing.
Yes.
We'll catch you there. Keep playing.